I'm Andrew Patterson from interest.co.nz. Welcome to another in our Business Success series. With me today, the co-founder of Gopher, John Campbell. Hi there, John.
Hi, Andrew.
John, tell us, Gopher, of course, it's been one of the real success stories in New Zealand in the technology space. What was your vision when you started out with the business? What sort of business did you have in mind?
The vision was world domination. What business do we have in mind? We just wanted to level the playing field for small to medium enterprise, give them let's say, an alternative to the incumbent Yellow Pages. And we had a similar idea to another, I guess, tech entrepreneur in New Zealand, Shane Bradley. He set up Finder around about the same time we did. I think we were both probably doing our due diligence at the same time. The ultimate goal was to become a significant player in the industry, claim a certain percentage of the market. And after setting up the business, we discovered that small to medium enterprise were after more of a solution. It wasn't just a directory they wanted. Our industry moves so fast that technology isn't now just something that people occasionally use. It's part of our lives.
And it's very integrated.
Yeah, and it's what business owners in New Zealand are realising is it's part of business life. So it wasn't just having a directory listing. It was, well, social media, Facebook. How do I get my business found? How do I capitalise on that market? And mobile as well, mobile search, and more recently for us, it's Google AdWords. We're a Google partner, one of the premier partners in New Zealand, one of 3 businesses that have that title. And it's another great product that we've added to our suite.
So explain what your point of difference is from other companies that sort of operate in the directory space, because as you say, you're not a pure directory, and yet people probably perceive you as that. Yeah, they might.
It's probably our most well-known product, barring the Google product, but I guess. We're a digital advertising technology company. We're not a directory company, and that might be hard for some people to differentiate, but that's a fact. We started as a directory company, but in our industry, you have to move, you have to evolve, and we've added products, to our suite, like I said. And I guess hopefully we're doing a better job of educating people. We're not just a directory company. Hopefully this will help. Get it out there for us.
And you've grown quickly. You've more than 150 staff. You're also in countries like Indonesia and so forth. So how do you integrate that strategy between your operation here and offshore in a market that's moving so quickly?
Yeah, really simple. So we were told, just to set the scene a little bit, we were told that we shouldn't go to Indonesia. We were considering different markets. Some traditional markets like that New Zealand businesses go to, Australia. Some not so traditional, some South America, South Africa, the UK. And when we saw what was happening in Southeast Asia, we started considering Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. We went to Indonesia and did some reconnaissance missions a couple of years ago. Everyone told us, don't do it, you can't do it, it's just not going to work here. Infrastructure won't support it. They don't. The culture won't allow a telesales model. You have to do face-to-face, which is different to what we do. A Western or international company coming to try and compete with the local incumbent. Everything that everyone told us was, you can't do this, which is like a red rag to a bull for us. So if you can't tell us we can't do something, we're going to go and do it. And the simple, to answer your question, the simple thing that we did was we didn't want to try and do it differently. We wanted to transport the Gopher DNA, what's helped us be successful in New Zealand, and just implant that as best we could, splice it with the local culture and some of the infrastructure issues that we have there, and give it a crack. We're fast learners, so if we needed to learn and change and adapt, which we have had to do in some areas, we will do that. But for the most part, it's worked brilliantly. So there are some synergies between the way we do business in New Zealand and the way we do business in Indonesia, or the way Indonesians do business. And ultimately it's because both nationalities have a desire to help and overcome challenges, and it's just worked brilliantly.
And you've even exchanged staff between the two offices fairly regularly as well.
Yeah. So we regularly send people from our New Zealand office up to Indonesia, and not quite as regularly, but fairly often, fly people from Indonesia down to show them how it is that we do things down here. Mostly the offices run the same, and I guess one of the success stories, the internal success stories in our company is we've got a young, she's about 23, superstar up in Indonesia, who worked with us for 2 years. She started in sales and then got involved in a couple of different areas of the business. And she's up there running the show. So we have, at last count, something like 80 or 90 staff up there. It's growing quite quickly, so I lose a bit of track. And she is running the country. And she lives up there. She doesn't, she's been there now for over a year. And we expect we're going to be replicating that model in the likes of Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand.
And it's a young team you've got, isn't it? It's young and high energy.
That's the thing. So it's not the we don't want to go down the ageism path. It's not just that they're young, but generally we'll employ anybody that has a good cultural fit and high energy and enthusiastic, like you say. So any of the business owners that have that do business with us or have received phone calls from our team, our guys are super excited, really passionate, want to help New Zealand businesses, know that we've got the products that can do that. And you'll hear that enthusiasm on the phone. So
just explain the business model, how that works, and particularly the revenue stream that you obviously have to attract.
Well, I can't tell you all our trade secrets, but I guess different to a traditional agency model. Traditional agencies are after the big spenders, want to go for the top, 5-10% of the market. We're actually after the long tail. We want volume. We want to help small to medium enterprise in New Zealand and Indonesia. And that's one of the biggest challenges we've had, is to try and overcome the challenge of scale. So in New Zealand, a few 100,000 small to medium enterprise in New Zealand, depending on whose numbers you believe. In Indonesia, we're talking millions of SMEs, and we have spent quite a lot of time in the last sort of year and a half rebuilding our platforms to cope with massive scale like that. They're ready. We've been testing and breaking and rebuilding and retesting every platform, from our proprietary CRM to our AdWords platform to every product we have. And we've now overcome that challenge. It's a little bit different to agency, who are a customised solution. We do low cost, high value, pre-packaged solutions for the masses. That's probably the key difference.
As this market moves at such a phenomenal pace, what's your strategy to sort of maintain keeping up with it?
Well, that's it. Try and keep up with it. Yeah. So I think it was. I can't remember who said it. It's like a day in our business, in our industry, is like a year in other people's industries. It moves so quickly, and BJ and I, as the founders of the company, we are pleasantly surprised by the growth, and we can't keep across everything that happens in our industry. So we employ super smart people. We've got some of the smartest brains, in the country, whose job it is to keep across trends, not just what's happening now, but what's coming. And it's part of future-proofing in the tech space. You've just got to try and hold on. You just got to, enjoy the ride.
Does it feel like a wild ride some days?
Absolutely. Yeah, every day. So don't get into a fast-growing tech company if you don't like roller coasters. If you're not an adrenaline junkie, I would not recommend it. So yeah.
And does this mean that your structures and your operations are constantly in a state of evolution?
Absolutely. Yep. And I mean that constantly. So I can't describe it any other way other than, just as our technology team are the second largest team in the company, and are always under immense pressure. And every time they believe they're just getting to the end of a project, we're already pumping them to change it. So it's just the nature of the beast.
Now, you've developed some interesting IP as well too. So out of this has come some technical competencies that you've developed as well too, and you've already been in discussions potentially for some licensing. So there's all these interesting offshoots.
There are some interesting offshoots. So like I said, we employ some of the smartest brains, and we have some really great technology. And the platforms that we've built, we have had people approaching us from countries we would never have thought of, asking if they can utilise these platforms and do we have agreements in place. We are going through that process now. So It's hard to put a value on it, and going through the patent process, especially in different regions and what have you. So again, I've got people smarter than me handling that for me, and BJ's involved in that as well.
And you've also set yourself some fairly ambitious growth goals over the next few years as well.
Yeah, ambitious is a word. Crazy, it's been called as well. However, 2 years ago in Indonesia, people told us we would never set up a business, we would never get off the ground, and we would never overcome all of the challenges that I mentioned before. And we now have, almost 100 staff and growing fast. The growth targets, I guess I can say it, is 1,000 staff as fast as possible. You set a goal and certain things happen. So Jakarta had some horrendous floods a couple of months ago. The goal moved slightly. A couple of our staff, we had dengue fever go through, and I think yellow fever went through the office or something after the flood. So we were down on resource, so the goal moved slightly. But even with all that, we're tracking really nicely with our goals, not only in Indonesia, but New Zealand as well.
What about funding this sort of growth? It's an issue for many companies. How have you managed to fund your growth to this point?
A lot of blood, sweat, tears, and reinvestment. BJ and I have largely funded the business ourselves up until maybe about 6 months ago. We don't really have any external funding, but we are looking for a funding round Q3. So we're preparing to, I can't really tell you too much about that, but we're preparing to seek some funding. And we were at a Deloitte presentation just a couple of weeks ago, and indications are it's a lot tougher to raise money in New Zealand than it is with the venture capitalists and what have you, let's say in Singapore or other places in Southeast Asia. And we've also had interest from North America through to China. So yeah, watch this space. I'll call you when it comes off.
Any thoughts of an IPO down the track?
One thing at a time, but it has been mentioned. Yeah.
And when you think back to your journey to this point, that famous question, what do you wish you knew at the start that perhaps you know now?
A challenging question. I'd like to think, I'd still like to think that if I knew what I know now, I still would have given it a crack. But it has been a lot harder, and I mentioned blood, sweat and tears earlier. It has been a harrowing and exciting journey. I almost think it's probably good I didn't know back then what I know now, in some ways. Look, I think as long as you treat your people well and you've got a good team around you, you can achieve anything. And one of the great things about what we're doing is we want to send a message to New Zealand businesses that you're bigger than your nation's boundaries. It's kind of a catchphrase that's caught on. Lots of New Zealand businesses doing lots of exciting stuff internationally. We're a tiny country. If you want to make anything really big, you've got to go offshore. And if we can do it, I reckon others can. So
John, an exciting business, and what's the part of being an entrepreneur that you enjoy the most?
Yeah, the best part about being an entrepreneur is it's partly about building a successful business and the challenge that's associated with that, and taking something from concept to reality. Employing over 100 staff was quite a milestone for us, and knowing that we've got people's goals, expectations, dreams, if you like, and we're helping them, or it's a vehicle to help them achieve that. And one of the other things is we provide, we believe, great career prospects for people at Gopher. So one of the catchphrases in-house is leaders creating leaders. So while I might drive the bus most of the time, I quite like handing the steering wheel over or the reins over to somebody else and giving them a shot. And it's it works most of the time. And and I guess that's I don't know if that's part of the adrenaline junkie in me. It's quite exciting seeing somebody else have a crack. So it's exciting. So being an entrepreneur, there's I'm sure lots of cliches that I could throw around, but I just don't think there's a more exciting ride.